Entropy Pog. Video games. With how many games I've gotten to play, along with what I've learned about game design, there are several design choices and tropes I've really grown an appreciation for, some even an adoration. When devs try to incorporate something just for the fun of it all, or to showcase their understanding of the game they were making, there's always going to be something that enhances my experience in some form. I had this idea ever since my 2014 days that did get started in the editing department. In fact, back then I planned to do it as a double top 10 along with the things I hate in video games, since those topics often accompanied one another, but this idea was eventually canned. So I thought I'd dust it off and see what I can really do with it now. Don't expect me to do a things I hate in games list anytime soon though. Not sure why I pick for that nowadays. So, let's get this show on the road. I know we like to rag on more realistic art directions in games, especially when people try to hype them up for looking so real! But I do think these kinds of art directions have their place in games today, and can be wonderful when done properly. And if cartoony art directions have their place to shine along with them. Personally though, I'll always prefer the latter. To me, cartoony visuals give more room to really bring more emotion and personality out of both the characters on the screen and the setting the game takes place in. You can get away with not only more exaggerated designs, but also a lot more hyperbolic facial expressions or movements, and I prefer that over trying to capture the realism of something, despite that having its boons too. I especially like it when most of the textures on everything are defined more by the solid color choice, rather than their texture, with cell shading really taking the cake in that department. Like, sometimes even the portraits look expressive. That's how much I really get into them. Heck, it'd be even better if they flat out included fully animated cutscenes with it all, since that could be a great way to tell the story in a captivating way. Not a whole lot else to say except, animation is awesome! Characters can fight however they want to, and it'll definitely get results based on the game mechanics, but I always prefer it when these kinds of moves look awesome. After all, why do a standard 1-2 hit combo when you can spin around like you can pretend you're a meat grinder for a minute and then just axe kick your enemy to the ground? Or heck, summon an astral being on top of that combo you just pulled off. Yeah, this is one big reason why I adore hack and slashes so much. Moves that look cool just give them that edge and feel gratifying every single time, especially when it comes to specials and finishers if the game lets you do those. A lot of adventure games and RPGs do this as well, and when used under the right circumstance, the impact is definitely hard to replicate. Some easy examples I can think of are Mystic Arts from the Tales series and Persona 5 Royal's Showtime attacks. I live for seeing stuff like Ryuji and Yusuke just unloading gunfire onto the enemy just because they were distracted from their lunch, or Patty summoning the most ridiculous things from a giant casino table. And even though I'm not too into fighting games, barring Smash and maybe a few others, all the combat moves, especially the specials, are a treat to pull off both mechanically and visually. These moves can really communicate a lot about the character you're playing as, or make for something different to catch your eye. You're definitely not going to see Captain America use elements of the game's UI to lay the smackdown, or Mario run over his opponent in the Blue Falcon. Just saying. It's always cool when a game decides to expand upon the possibilities you can do with a single character, and depending on the game, it would help keep things more focused. But I always love having multiple characters to fiddle around with. This is probably one of my favorite examples of showcasing a true understanding of a game's core playstyle, because it can show a ton of different ways that you can just play the game, so you'll likely find one that just clicks with you. I truly come to appreciate this the most in 2D and 3D platformers. Yeah, you could just play a Mario platformer with a good old Jumpman, but you can also play as the factually superior Mario brother who has more airtime, or the princess who can hover, or Toad and run around like he had too much coffee with sugar. Enjoy your time as the little pink puff? Now try playing as one of the many enemies in the series, or any other character to see if you like a permanent playstyle. Gotten used to the tagging and zapping? Now try that sort of style that revolves around a dash and go nuts in the air. Hack and slashes are also a big highlight of this trope. Not every character is bound to fight the same way, so it's always great to try them out on the field and see whose style you like more. Warriors games in particular thrive on that kind of thing, as do kart racers, which can have characters with different top speeds, accelerations, weight classes, etc. Beat-em-ups and sports games for, again, each character's individual stats, or just their personality if you don't have that big of a preference. And fighting games, because again, not everyone fights the same way. nor do they move and attack at the same speed. That last one is also a big highlight, not only for representation of particular archetypes, or even franchises in some cases, but also you have the leeway to learn the game as a simple character, and then try another to get more out of it. That's part of what gives mass crossover games their appeal. The chance of going "I know you" towards at least one character can be your ticket into getting invested. So you've just finished a game, beat the final boss, watched the credits, and are feeling pretty good about it. Feeling so good that you want to experience it all over again. It's always cool to start a new playthrough, but it's even better when a game lets you start a new playthrough with some of the perks of your previous one. New Game Plus features help immensely make your repeated runs more enjoyable, because not only can it be fun to bulldoze previous enemies with any upgrades you keep, but it also might lead you to discovering things you didn't see on your first go. I'll admit, most of the games I can think of that do this well are RPGs, but it still works in them. The Tales series in particular does something a little different with this. Most games let you choose which perks you want to carry over into a new playthrough, from standard stuff like transferring levels and items in case you want to play on a higher difficulty, to things like experience multipliers in case you want to fight some post-game threats more comfortably. Persona 5 Royal lets you carry over your Persona compendiums, meaning you can access them as soon as you can, and your social links in case you want to build up relationships you were not able to on the first journey. But a lot of other games also handle it well, from those that just amp up the difficulty like with most hack and slashes, to those that let you play as a different character, like playing Super Mario Galaxy as Luigi, to some that combine amped up difficulty with letting you retain some data from your initial playthrough, like Skyward Sword, and basically every Ratchet & Clank game. Second playthroughs tend to be a different experience, so might as well capitalize on it. I've admittedly grown a little weary of how big AAA companies have been attempting to make their games in recent times. Like, yeah, it can be a good demonstration of what current tech is capable of, but if flexing those muscles is all you've got going, then what else do consumers have to look forward to? And yet, despite this, when devs try really hard to make giant overworlds work in a gameplay sense, I really do get into them. There's a ton of things you can do with overworlds that are massive and larger than life. You can just make them big for the sake of it, but it'll be worth it when you actually make them interesting and have their own stories to tell, like with the Xillia Chronicles games. The first one especially gets this right. Like, there are so many places that I love learning about and wondering just what happened in some cases. You can fill them to the brim with things to do that the player would actually want to do, which I think The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom shine brightly in. Like, no matter what, there will always be something shiny that will always make me go, "Ooh, what's that?" And a reward will always be waiting on the other side. Or you can use them as a means to make traversal really fun, something Sonic Frontiers and Insomniac's Spider-Man games have got to a T. I could just take the subway, but I'd much rather be Spider-Man and swing around to my heart's content, and maybe bust some criminals along the way. And I could just teleport from one spot to another on one of these islands, but I'm Mr. Needlemouse. I'll just dart over there instead at the speed of sound. All this isn't to say I want all games on the planet to be huge open worlds. I like variety after all. But when a game makes it work within the confines that have been built, that's when I love just going around, doing whatever I please. Okay, Dashbun, I made you look at the camera and be adorable for the shot. Ready? Say cheese! Perfect! Look how precious you are. Out of all the game features that have become trends as of late, I've always found photo modes among the most charming. This one doesn't sound like much compared to what I've talked about, but believe me, being able to take pictures of things along your journey can go a long way in making it feel special, especially if you have the option to save it within your console's memory banks. I also like all the lighting, filters, and other decorations you can put on these photos, but what I like even more is the option to get characters to pose for the photo, or have it be a selfie taken by your player character. Games like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Astral Chain, and Kingdom Hearts 3 are easy examples for selfies, especially in the last one's case since some of the Disney characters don't know what a camera or a smartphone is, which is a fantastic detail. Also, Flynn, yes, you will get your nose right for the photo. Games like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart are also great for getting pictures of silly costumes, poses, and compositions, but hands down my favorite photo mode happens to come from Insomniac's Spider-Man games. Taking spider selfies on top of buildings, or even falling from great heights, will always be amusing. I'm the type of person who gets more into a game's story if I happen to enjoy or relate to the characters I'm with through the journey. Yeah, you can raise the stakes, but that'll only go so far if I don't care about anyone. And if I do, they can save the world or just lie around doing whatever, and I'd be happy either way. That's the magic of minor character conversations. Characters only have so much room to show who they truly are in regards to the main conflict, so minor character conversations can let them express personal interests and problems and bounce off someone else with either wholesome or comedic results. This is something that truly goes a long way in making a game's world and central plot feel like something more, and I love to see it. My favorite 2 examples are support conversations from most Fire Emblem games and skits from the Tales series. Seeing 2 characters converse in the former really adds a lot more to each of them that I don't think I would have gotten in the main story, and it's a great reward for actually using each unit. I'm being serious that some of my favorite moments with some of my favorite characters in each Fire Emblem game are in support conversations, with my baby girl / baby boy Kana being a highlight. It's amazing to see them actually bond with their parents, and even how they help them out or just have fun with the other child units, especially female Kana giving Midori more medicine ideas and helping Selkie out with a rain problem. Or how about Yunaka's fantastic voice impressions?
I am Emblem Corrin. I'll fight with all I have.
Or Delphia performing the biggest L-Fire in the series.
Young lady, it is rude to ignore people.
No, it's rude to ignore nice people. So you don't count.
Or how about Bernadetta inventing the art of fainting while standing up? As for skits in the Tales series, these also give these characters some breathing room to either discuss something that was present in a cutscene, or just some kind of random topic regarding a town you just visited, or some other weird thing that happened that has nothing to do with anything. This is a big reason why Xillia 1 is among my favorite games in the series, and why Xillia 2 is my favorite. The skits here are just gold! Trust me, if I went over a lot of my favorite skits in these 2 games, we'd be here all day. All that I will say is that I don't think gels are living beings. Imagine this, you're playing a game, and you're having fun, but then after a while you like to put it down to go rest, or do something else for a minute. Do you think the ideal way to save the game in this scenario would be to find a save point that could be anywhere, even somewhere that is not convenient at the moment? Probably not. This is why I've admittedly grown weary of save points. They still can be done well, but personally, now that there have been far more convenient ways of saving your game, these can feel a little too out of the way a lot of the time. Auto-saving is cool and all, but to me, I always prefer it when you can save the game whenever you please. This is not only super convenient, but there's also the strange feeling of satisfaction that, with the press of a button, all your progress up to that point is held onto for whenever you pick the game up next. And you can pick right back up where you left off, like nothing happened. It's also good to make sure you're staying up to date as much as possible through this method, and it's helpful in case you're approaching a really difficult encounter, especially if it's an RPG or an adventure game. Some of my favorites are definitely the most Fire Emblem games because it is an absolute lifesaver when it comes to incredibly long maps if you want to take a break, or you want to make sure you don't lose the unit because of bad luck or a stupid move. And in games like Pokemon and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom if you want to save on inventory or take on a challenge. Heck, I've even seen platformers adopt this practice. Remember kids, it always helps to keep a log of your progress. Now, this spot is technically a tie between 2 candidates, because while the amount of control you have over one of them is greater than the other, both these share a similar essence to each other, where I am always happy to see them appear. So for the first one, let's talk about letting you dress up your characters as you see fit. I don't know what it is, but dressing up playable characters in whatever attire I want to just gets me. Sure, some games do this for optimal performance, but I like it more when it's purely cosmetic, so I can just go around looking as cool or as completely ridiculous as I possibly can. Sure, I can have Thor going around looking like the almighty god of thunder, or I can make him look like the Macho Man.
Oh yeah!
Heck, the definitive edition of Xenoblade 1 goes even further, with letting you rock whatever clothes you want, and still get better stats other outfit pieces provide. So if you want Dunban to join the Thor Club of chiseled abs, or turn Hero Punt Ricky into an actual pineapple, you can do that. The amount of freedom you have with this is awe-inspiring, and can act as a really good way to express how weird you can be. Which is also why I decided to have it tie with character creation. This one goes quite a few yards further, letting you create your own character to be part of the game. I personally like having a custom avatar to look as close to me as it can, because that kind of immersion can go a really long way. Pokemon started doing this in X and Y, and it has been a great way to envision yourself as a Pokemon trainer. Astral Chain is another amazing example. Not only will you design your character in this manner, but also letting you choose the color of some of your clothing. And then you get to character creator so that you create an entire roster's worth of them. So why stop at making an avatar of yourself when you can make avatars of some of your favorite characters in fiction? Soul Calibur 6 is definitely my favorite example in this regard. Because of the sheer variety of options you have at your disposal, you can make matches that are absolutely awesome or absolutely cursed.
Hello, I'm Katori Minami from Muse, and I hope we get to know each other in this map.
They sent an idol to face me! Did I commit out of July? Or does the king think this is funny?
Bonus points letting you share them online and download any you really like. I think that's really cool. The reason why this is a tie is because both character appearance customization and character creation share a similar essence, letting your characters look however you want them to, and playing as them. They both give me that feeling of immersion and satisfaction that I think it would be natural to talk about both. Customization in general is great, but with it looking how you envisioned it, it feels really special. Minigames. Yeah, minigame compilations are great and all, but I'm fond of them most when they're a supplement to a much bigger adventure. Really adds a lot more to the world, and potentially some of the characters. Quality and performance modes. Great for those who like to soak in all the details, and those who want the best possible performance. I'm glad this is becoming more of the norm, and I hope it continues to improve and be more widely accepted. Difficulty settings. It's great to see a game cater to those who want to unwind and just enjoy the game, and those who want to be more challenged. Normal battle music changes. Something about this one is just really charming to me, especially if it's dictated by how far you are along the game. And finally, incredibly strong weapons and power-ups. Sometimes, I just want to feel like a god. Video games are already a great medium to express your imagination, but there is this one thing where I not only believe that all those thoughts can come together, but they can also be moments that will leave a lasting impression on the player, going as far as to be some of the most fun things to talk about in a YouTube video. And that is boss battles! Oh yeah, there is a reason why countdowns on boss battles are always some of my favorites to watch on the internet, let alone make on my own. I mean, it's been a concept since forever, but it's usually boss battles where I more often than not see the devs' fundamental understanding of a game. Yeah, you can have encounters against several goons that could take place somewhere crazy, but taking on a much more powerful opponent in a climactic clash sounds a lot more enticing. From a titan that clearly towers over you, to something more on your level, there's tons of different opponents that could qualify as a boss. Just look at the absolutely ridiculous scenarios Platinum Games cooks up for a lot of their bosses, and I think you'll get what I mean. In terms of gameplay, these do wonders in expanding upon what you've learned in a game, encouraging you to make the best of it, or shaking things up to show you another approach. Several hack and slashes in general do this well, and reward you for getting past their patterns and scoring these combos. Zelda games can also come up with fun and unique methods, utilizing whatever dungeon item you just got, with notable examples being the Stallo from Twilight Princess and how it utilizes the spinner, or Koloktos from Skyward Sword and how it utilizes the whip to literally tear off its arms. RPGs can even thrive in this area. The Tales series often has bosses that expand on what you can do with the combat system, with Xillia 2 in particular being my favorite example. Pokemon has a lot of great important battles, on top of Gen 7 and Scarlet and Violet going a step further with all the giant Pokemon you face, and Legends Arceus' noble Pokemon adding in plenty more on top of that. Then you have things like Mega Man that's built around bosses, where each one has a weakness that you can use to trivialize them if you want to, or try to take them head on with just your Buster. I've really grown to enjoy doing that during the initial fights. There are even other games and franchises built around bosses, like No More Heroes, Gunvolt, and perhaps one of my favorite examples, Cuphead. It is just borderline inspiring as to how much effort went into each and every encounter in the game, from the overall design, the scenario, and the gameplay. That kind of effort always makes me happy, and overcoming such powerful foes is something I absolutely never get tired of. Boss battles take the #1 spot for me because they can be a culmination and the perfect showcase of everything great about a game. They're solid tests of what the player has learned, they give me a reason to be excited for what's around the corner, and they're just inspiring to me on several different levels. I am Lightning Ripper, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.